ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुक्तापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome to corporate Bhagavad Gita. We are reading Bhagavad Gita every Friday 1 to 2 p.m. and
Desktop engage connected.
We are in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So in this 5th chapter, Arjuna is asking some clarification. Do you want me to renounce Krishna, or you want me to work in devotion? Which is better for me? So Krishna says, it's better that you work with devotion. Just a minute. Okay. So Krishna says you need to work in devotion. That is how you will achieve perfection. And we read through a lot of things. He says you should perform your duty without attachment, surrendering the results onto the Supreme Lord. Then you will be unaffected by sinful actions. Okay. Then mentally we have to renounce all actions. Mentally. Then we have to understand, that the soul. Where is our picture? This knowledge is very important. What is the knowledge? The knowledge of the soul. And we need to understand, are we the real doer? Okay, are we the real doer, or who is the doer? So the modes of material nature are the doer, the matter is the doer. Then what are the soul doing? The soul is desiring, definitely it is desiring, then it is carried out by the modes of material nature. So the soul cannot claim that he did the activity without any help. That is the point. Without any help he didn't do any activity. Sorry. Okay, sorry, some call here. Okay, so the soul, he doesn't do any activity, but it is carried out by the modes of material nature. It's carried out by the modes of material nature. So he cannot claim fully that he did it independently. He did it with the help of modes of material nature. Now there is Supreme Lord also, who sanctions all the activities. Okay, so when the activity is done where the soul desires, the Supreme Lord, he doesn't assume, or he doesn't take to the reaction of that. The reaction goes to the soul. So when one understands this whole thing, how this thing is working, that one is actually separate from the body. The soul needs the body to do certain activity, so the body is is also a doer, and this body is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord who is in the Paramatma, and because of his sanction only we can do some activity. Okay, otherwise we cannot do. So when we understand all these things, right, we become enlightened with knowledge. Then then what happens? Then this is the last thing that we read. Then our intelligence is fixed in the Supreme, because now we know how this whole thing is working. It is not like I am doing. The Lord is there and He's providing all the support. He's providing this body. He's allowing us to use this body. So now our faith on the Supreme Lord increases. And thus we are more interested in spiritual liberation. Um, Thus we are more interested in spiritual liberation. Okay. Now, how does the vision changes to the old world? That is what we are going to study, read today. Okay. विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि सुनी चैव स्वपाके च पंडित समदर्शिनः. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned, a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So, equal vision, who all? Brahmana, cow, elephant, dog, dog eater. Is there a difference between these four personalities? Brahmana, a cow, elephant, dog, dog eater.
Yeah.
Yeah, one is animal, others are like beings, and one is like elevated in spiritual knowledge, another one is not elevated in spiritual knowledge. But then, how to have the equal vision? How to have equal vision? Okay, do you know somebody who will have this equal vision? They will see everything same. Hmm? Does anything come to your mind? Equal vision. I'll give you example. How about a baby? Do you say a baby has that equal vision? It sees everything the same.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then, is baby a humble sage?
No.
No, right? Because doesn't have any knowledge. But still, it has the equal vision. Okay, but whenever it sees parent, it sees the difference. Otherwise, for a baby, plastic or gold is same, right? For a baby, any person is same. So yes, that is also there. And anyone else, do you think, can have this equal vision apart from sage and baby? Even animals, they see all of this as same only. For them, they don't react differently to all these things, right? But do they have knowledge? No. So the real true equation according to the knowledge is what? Now you tell me how, what knowledge is required by which we can see everybody equally. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It is there in this picture. What knowledge is required by which we can see everybody equal? That knowledge is
Spiritual knowledge.
yeah, that knowledge is explained in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that we are not the body but the
So,
soul. Okay, so basically, if you want to see every one of these as equal, we don't have to see it externally, because externally everyone is different. You can't make tiger and buffalo to be the same. Externally they are different, but internally we know that this whole is a machine, and it has been driven by spirit soul. Now on the level of spirit soul only you can make equal vision. Otherwise, on the external part, on the material body, you cannot have equal vision. Is that clear?
yes, yes.
So people may confuse that equal vision means what, but equal vision means on the level of spirit. Okay. On the external level, we will still have a difference. But on the spirit level, we'll know, okay, this is driven by spirit. Like, let's say, I will give one more example. We have so many vehicles on Indian roads, right? But take a picture. Okay, let's take some mix of the two. Too many cars. Okay, this looks interesting. Or even better than that, let's do this. So you see all the cars here, right? You see so many cars here.
Yes.
Now, if I tell you have an equal vision of the car, how will you explain? First of all, there are different cars, right?
Different. There are
They are
different
different cars.
cars.
Now I tell you, how can you have equal vision of all the cars?
Everyone is stuck in traffic, no matter how
That is
what
fine.
the car is.
Yeah, that is okay. But cars, all the cars require a driver.
Yes.
So that is the equal vision. That the cars are simply a machine, okay,
Okay. Okay.
and it is driven by a driver. Okay. Now, if somebody with this attitude goes and buys a car, his thought process will be completely different, right? Because he will think,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, he will think it's just a machine and you need a driver. Now, what is the purpose of the car? Why one needs a car? He will think more about it. So if somebody needs a car, let's say to go for office, then he can make a good decision, right? Which car to buy? Because there is luxury
Yes.
cars also. There are
Yes.
there are two cheap cars. Then he can decide based on that. So this equal vision helps us in making good decisions. Okay, helps us in making wise decisions. And then even in spiritual life, when we have this equal vision, then we can um, we just know how to treat everyone, okay, and how to respond to everybody, okay. And we won't get entangle us in the external differences, right? You are American, you are Pakistani, you're Chinese and all that. That is external differences. So on a spiritual level, we will see everyone is basically a soul in that body, okay. Same quality as I am having, they are also having. Okay, we'll get more into the purport, but yeah. So when one gets this kind of understanding, right, his path to spirituality becomes more clearer. He then gets, yes, I have to become spiritual. Understand?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. A Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or caste. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a cow, a dog, and elephant may be different from a point of the view of species, but these differences of bodies are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. Transcendentalist means spiritualist, one who has transcended three modes of nature. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portions as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. We have one more person. Is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma regardless of circumstances of living entities. See, there are so many living entities. Na? Here, there is animals, reptiles, demigods, human beings. When we talk about the Supreme Lord, he's maintaining everyone, right? It is not that he's just maintaining one species and not the other. No, he's maintaining everyone. So he also has equal vision. And on the level of spirit, he also sees it. The Lord as Paramatma is present in the outcast and in the Brahmana. Although the body of the Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same, the bodies are material production of the different modes of material nature. But the soul and the super soul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. Okay. So sorry. I talked about saying that there is soul within all the bodies, right? But there is one more person who is there in all the bodies. That is the super soul. So the super soul is also there in all the bodies. So two things we will see in equal vision. One is that there is soul in all the bodies, and there is super soul also in all the bodies. Okay. So two things are required for equal vision: to see the same soul in all the body and the same super soul in all the bodies. Same soul means there are different souls, but they are of the same nature. So actually it means to see different souls of the same nature in all the bodies and the one super soul in all the bodies. That's how we can get equal vision. The similarities in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in the particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. So this point we have read multiple times, where the difference between the soul and the super soul is the super soul is unlimited. In quantity wise, it is huge. It cannot be measured only. And the soul is just singular. Quantity wise, they don't match. Quality wise, they match. A Krishna conscious person has knowledge or has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of soul and super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all the bodies. The super soul is present in all the bodies without distinction. One more example I'll give. Okay. So here we have a family of 5 people, right? Now the parents have three kids. Now all of them look different, right? All 3 kids, they look different. Yes or no? But how do they look at all the three
Yes.
kids? They look at equal vision, right?
Equally. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do they look equally? Because they know that hey, they all are our children.
Yeah. They are children. Yes.
Yeah. So there, to look equally, we have to have the commonality between all of us, right? So so a learned soul, he sees that commonality in Brahmana, cow, elephant, dog eater, and there are two common things that he sees. What are those? What are the two common things that he sees? One is the soul, yes,
Yes.
and another one is super soul, Paramatma.
Yeah. So
So Paramatma and the soul both are there in each bodies. Okay. Okay, we'll move forward. 5.19. इहेव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ने स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समां ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्राह्मणि ते स्थित. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So for them, now there is no birth and death. That is the last death for them. If they come to that understanding of seeing equal, sameness and equanimity. So basically, that's like a sage, na? That's like a sadhu. So equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, the sign of self-realization. So here is one answer, for our long questions. What is self-realization? How to know if someone is self-realized or not? Okay, okay. I just muted her. Mataji, you have some question? I just muted you. You had some comment, Mataji? Nilima Mataji? Okay, okay, okay. You can interrupt me. So yeah, what is the sign of self-realization? How can we know that somebody is self-realized? First point is his equanimity of mind. See, if we compare his mind versus our mind, right? Do we have the equanimity of mind? Do we see things equally?
No, we don't.
We don't, right? We are influenced by things. We make discriminations, right? We are disturbed by other people, by our surroundings, and so many. So our case is equanimity is not there. But for a sage, now this equanimity is there. So then we understand it's for self-realization. See, sometimes babies also show equanimity of mind. The whole match is going on, so much of loud noise, but the baby is completely, silent. But it is not a sage. Okay, it's not like the baby has got self-realized. No, those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, especially birth and death. For them, there is no birth and death. As long as one identifies with the body, he is considered a conditioned soul, and as long as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through self realization, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. Okay, basically he goes back to God. Equanimity, the Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless. And okay, okay, so equanimity has another meaning also: attraction or hatred. These two things is not there. He's neither attracted to someone, he neither hates somebody. It is impossible for us to understand because we are not an equanimous state, but this is what a sadhu is like that. Similarly, a living entity is without attraction or hatred. He becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are considered to be always liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So, more of their symptoms are described. न प्रश्यहित प्रियम प्राप नो दिचेत प्राप चाप्रियम स्थिर बुद्धिर असम्मूढ़ो ब्रह्म विद ब्राह्मणी स्थित. So he's brahmani sthita. Brahmani sthita means he's situated on spiritual platform basically. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. So, few more things I explained. Something pleasant come in their life or something unpleasant come in their life. They don't get carried away by it. There is no more too much of rejoice, neither there is too much of lamentation. Who is self intelligent? We will see what it is. Who is unbewildered and he knows the science of transcendence. Basically, no spiritual science. The symptoms of self-realized persons are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with the true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not his body but the fragmental portion of the Supreme Person of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. This steadiness of mind is called sthita buddhi or self-intelligence. Okay, not to get carried away by happiness, nor to lament too much by losing something. It's called steadiness of mind. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as the permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. So, this is spiritual knowledge, okay? Spirit, the knowledge of the spirit. Thus, knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So, such is the consciousness of a soul who has achieved equanimity. He is not carried away by distress nor by happiness. He is self intelligent because of that. and is situated on transcendence. One may think, I should do this, I should do this. Well, we'll see how to achieve in our day to day life all this. भाव्य स्पर्शेषु असक्तात्मा विन्दति आत्मनि यत् सुखम स ब्रह्म योग युक्तात्मा सुखम अक्षयम अश्नुते. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, self-realized person enjoys the unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So, I'm just thinking of an example. Okay. So, have you been in a situation here where everyone is doing something else, but then you are completely satisfied and you are not ready to do anything? You know, you're not after that pleasure. Like very simple example I'll tell. Okay, suppose all your friends call you at 4 p.m. and they said let's have this chart, you know, some vada pav or something like that. Right? So happens that you have just eaten food. Okay, you have just eaten food and then you come and all the friends are there and they're ordering vada pav, juice, chaat, ye, wo, all that things. Are you going to order or not? What do you think? Will you order or not?
No.
Why? Because you are completely full, right?
Yes, exactly.
Similarly, a liberated person, right? He's completely full. He's enjoying within himself. Okay, he's enjoying on the level of spirit. He's enjoying on the level of equanimity, samenessness. So he won't get too attracted to material sense pleasure. He won't run after all these things, which the world runs after. So Sri Yamunacharya, great devotee, he said in Krishna consciousness, he said, since I have engaged in transcendental loving service of Krishna and realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. So in this world, right, sexual pleasure is like the highest for materialistic people. Yes, they will try to project
Yes.
this sex pleasure in everything. Um, even if there is an ad of biscuits, they will try to show it like man and woman can be together because of this biscuit, right? If there is a
Yes,
if there
yes.
is an ad of car, they will show as if you will sit in the car and some women will also sit in it, or they'll show an ad of perfume, and what will happen? All the girls will start running after you. Right? Just apply that perfume. That's the propaganda, right? In the ad. So everything is driven, because of this sex pleasure. If you want to make today something hit or something, some movie to be going hit, and making a lot of money, then it should have these kind of sex pleasure scenes. Okay, but transcendentalist, spiritualist spit on such sex pleasure. Why? Because they're enjoying a higher reality, a higher happiness. Getting? So a person in Brahma yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in the terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell. Spell means kind of magic. And a materialistic cannot work at all without this motivation. Without this motivation, that I'll be able to enjoy, you know, sexual life, that is the motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test of spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being liberated soul. So now sex pleasure and spiritual realization go ill together. Basically they cannot go together, right?
Correct.
Now you tell me, then one should give up sex pleasure? Is this is
No,
what
we
is this?
had studied the concept of Grihastha, so I don't
Yeah,
think giving up is
good,
the solution.
good, yeah. So good. So what it is saying is sex pleasure. It is saying pleasure means it's some enjoyment. So just don't go for the enjoyment. Okay. Sex pleasure is a
Correct.
sexual intercourse is allowed in the married life. Okay, which is directed in begetting a good child. We have discussed in the past that human body, man, woman's body, you know, then they unite, then only a child can be produced. Okay, and that is the purpose of sexual intercourse. There is no other purpose. Okay, there is no other purpose. So if the purpose is only looked at, then it is not a sexual pleasure, right? It is not like the husband and wife just united for pleasure. Pleasure is part of it, but it was a duty to beget child. Just like food is there. We don't want to eat food for the just sake of the pleasure, right? There is some pleasure in eating food, some sweet, sour, salty. All of it gives us pleasure. But do we eat all because we just want to eat it? What is our other motivation? We want to keep our body
To,
healthy, right? That's
yeah,
why we want
to
to eat.
keep ourselves healthy. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That sex pleasure, sex in sexual intercourse may be need of the body, but one should not turn it as a want of the body. See, there's a difference between need and wants, right?
Yes.
Wants will go into excessive, okay, and need will keep us sane. How much is needed? Only that much. If a person eats more than needed, what will happen? He'll
He
basically
will
become
fall sick.
fat. Some diseases will happen, right? And that's what we are seeing in today's world.
Yeah.
People go out to eat for pleasure. After eating, what they say, maza aaya, maza aaya, right? Then after some years of this maza, they go to doctor and they say no more maza, right? Then the doctor tells them don't eat this, don't eat that, reduce this. Then only your health will improve. So just going for the pleasure is very destructive. Anything, food, sexual life, anything, recreation, work also. There is some pleasure in the work also. But if you continuously become workaholic, work many hours and then become workaholic, is it good? No, right?
No, it's bad.
Yeah, but we have to work. So does it mean that we should give up work? No, do that much what is needed. Okay, that is the gist. So Krishna conscious person, he gets this clarity that I have to do things what how much they are needed, nothing more than that. The Krishna conscious person is not attracted by any kind of sense pleasure due to his being liberated soul. Now this is a very nice verse which we just discussed, but here it's very nicely explained. ये ही संस्पर्श जा भोगा दुख योनो एवते आद- आद्य अंतवंतः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which is due to contact with the material senses. Sources of misery. Oh Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So pleasures which have a beginning and an end, okay, which have a beginning and end, in other words it's temporary, it's limited, right? A wise person doesn't delight in them. Delight means what? To take great pleasure, adore, love, relish, savor, right? Thrill. So pleasures which have a start and a beginning, right, which are temporary in nature, a wise person is not going to delight in it, it's not going to get carried away by it. He will only use it for certain purpose, you know, limited use he will do, limited delight he will go into it. Getting? So any
Yes.
kind of pleasure in this world, whether it be sex pleasure, food pleasure, power pleasure, intellectual pleasure, emotional pleasure, physical pleasure, right? All these things he won't get delight in them. He will limitly delight in them. Let's put it that way, limitly delight in them. That makes a sense, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Regulation.
Regulation, good point. um, there is a very nice verse in Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if it comes in this chapter or something else. Yuktahara viharasya yukta, let's say, or we can say recreation and we get it. Recreation. Yeah, this is the verse. Did we read this verse? 17. Which chapter is this? I think sixth chapter. Let's see. Sixth chapter. So we are going to read it in the next chapter, but the point is here. Yukta harasya virasya yukta chetasu karmasu yukta swapna bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. He who's regulated. So if there is regulation in the habit of what? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and work, he only can mitigate all planes by practice of yoga system. Okay. So there has to be regulation. Got it?
Yes. Correct.
Yeah. So eating too much will, make a person obese and diabetic and whatnot. But if he regulated eating, then he can eat two gulab jamuns, right? And nothing will happen to him. Unregulated eating means what? In a day, 30, 40 gulab jamuns.
Eating mindlessly. Yes.
Yeah, eating mindlessly, senselessly. So yeah, so regulation is so important. Material sense pleasures due to contact with material senses, which are all temporary because of the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. So when these things are there, a liberated soul is not interested in things in which there is temporary. Does he avoid it? Does this mean that he avoids it?
No. No.
Like, sometimes students say, I'm not so interested in my college. So do they avoid their college?
They don't have any option.
Yes, they don't have any option. So what do they do? Even though they're telling, I'm not so interested in college and all this, what did they do? They still go and attend
They
some
have to
classes,
attend.
right?
Like
They have to maintain
yeah,
that
yeah.
attendance percentage and all that, right?
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what is the meaning of this verse. Only for the sake of percentage, attendance percentage only, we will be interested in that pleasure. Okay. Understand?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. So the thing is, the liberated soul will limit himself. He won't give up everything. Some things he will give up, but let's say food. Can he give up food? No. But he can eat limited food. He can eat simple food. That's how he will do. Okay. Knowledge knowledge well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? So actually, for a liberated soul, right, all this is false only. So mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasure from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is known as Rama. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it said, very nice verse. This is Naham Deho Deha Vajan Niloke Kashtan Kamam Arhate with Bhujanye Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Sattvam Shuddhet Yasmat Brahma Saukhyam Tav Anantam. Kashtan, Kashta. You have heard this was Kashta, right?
Yes.
So what does this mean here? Kashtan. Very lot of difficulty.
Custom difficulty, yeah. Long
Yeah.
difficulty, yes.
So my dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to stool eaters also. So the pleasures of eating, sleeping, mating, defending are there in animals also. Okay, and we are soul. So one time we will get animal body and all that. So there, sometimes the pleasure is even more. How? Let's say eating pleasure. How much an elephant will eat versus human being?
It's very different, yeah.
Yeah, very different, right? So the eating pleasure of the elephant is more, right? How many times these pigeons have sex life? Multiple times a day, in one day, multiple times. So such pleasures are already available. How much time? How many months does how how long does a bear sleeps? Polar bear, 6 months, right?
Yeah,
Like that. So all these pleasures are there in animal. There is no need to labor hard to get those kind of pleasures. Better our life should be done in tapasya, by which existence will be purified, and as a result will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Okay. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasure. They will only use the sense um, for little gratification, just to keep body and soul together, which are the cause of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasure, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. Okay. Any questions at this point? Okay.
no, no.
शाक्नोति वह एव यह शोधम प्राक शरीर विमोक्षणात् काम क्रोधो भवान वेगम स युक्त स सुखी नरः. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and hunger, so our body, right, it forces us to go and get these things, right, in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. A learned person, what he does is that he tolerates the urges and he reduces all the needs. He checks the forces of desire and anger, and he is well situated, happy in this. If one wants to make steady progress in the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of senses. Similarly, material desires when unsatiated generate anger. So how does anger comes? when something is uh, when the enjoyment is stopped, right, or it is being thwarted, or
Yes.
yeah, then anger comes. Thus the mind, eyes and chest become agitated. Therefore one must practice to control them. Okay, therefore one must practice to control them before one can gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control the desire and anger. So we have to control our mind and senses. This is common for all transcendentalists. You, me, impersonalist, everybody. It's common. We have to control our mind and senses. 5.24. Okay. Um. Okay. Verse number 24. योऽन्तः सुखो अंतरामस तथांतर ज्योतिर एव यः स योगी ब्रह्म निर्वाणम ब्रह्मभूतो अधिगच्छति. One whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mistake. He is liberated in the supreme, and ultimately he attains the supreme. Okay, for spiritualists, the happiness is within. Within means what? What is your understanding? When spiritual happiness is within,
It's inside. I mean, we don't
huh?
have to keep looking in the outer world. It's inside.
Yeah, but inside what he will experience. This is very confusing part. People say, what you will experience within?
Peace, contentment, and there's happiness.
Okay, okay. So one thing is within he will see two things. Where is our PPT? Yeah, what he will see within, he will see himself, which is the soul, and he will see one more thing. What is that?
The super soul.
Yeah, the super soul, the Paramatma. And the Paramatma is the source of all happiness. There is happiness on the level of soul also, but there is much more happiness just by seeing the super soul, by perceiving the super soul. So that is the pleasure when it says internal, right? It is seeing the super soul within. Okay, we'll get, we'll see more. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagement meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires to external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which is assured to go back to it, back to home. Okay, we are in 25th verse. This is okay. How to attain this all state that we have discussed, right? Equanimity, sameness, happiness within, not to get carried away by happiness or distress. So this verse will help us. Labante Brahma Nirvana Rishaya Shinya Kalmashaha. Rishaya Shinya Kalmashaha Shina. Chinna Dvaidha. Chinna Dvaidha Yatatmanaha Sarvabhute Hite Ratha. Those who are beyond the dualities, they arise from doubts, whose mind are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation. So, free from all sins, that is one. Freedom from duality and doubts. There is no doubt anything, no doubt is left. Mind is engaged within. One is seeing the super soul, that is the highest thing, or just the soul. They only can achieve, and this is one interesting thing. They are working for the welfare of all living beings. What kind of welfare work do these transcendentalists do? What do you think?
They give out the same energy, they spread the awareness, and plus, even if not directly, they do that indirectly as well.
Yeah. So they tell to people about the spiritual knowledge. They share the spiritual knowledge. Okay, that's how they do the welfare work. What they have achieved, they will share it with others. This is how you need to follow and all that. They'll write books on it, right? A person who is
Yes,
fully
yes,
in
the
Krishna
books,
consciousness.
lectures.
Hmm. So this welfare, right, is actually on the more on the spiritual platform. It's not on the material platform. Okay. Welfare of all beings is like all beings are not so interested in spiritual life, right? So the transcendentalist, he will give that knowledge to them. That is the main welfare work that they will do. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living beings. When a person is actually in knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything. So what does it being in knowledge means? That Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, and he acts in that spirit. And when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The suffering of the humanity is due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. So the suffering of the people are what? Poverty, old age. But if you go into the root cause of it, that means it's forgetfulness of Krishna. Forgetting that we are spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna, the servant of Krishna. When we forget that, then all kinds of difficulties come in our life. I mean, they will eventually come, but we won't have the capacity to overcome it. Because we'll get carried away by failure, we'll get carried away by rejoice. So the real suffering is what? Real suffering is forgetfulness of Krishna. Forgetfulness that I belong to Krishna. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the greatest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering the physical welfare of the society. So I talked about physical welfare is like humanitarian work, giving food, clothing, shelter. That is also welfare, right? Is that welfare?
Yes, yes, obviously it is.
Yeah. But in that, one welfare is not done. What? Which one? The spiritual welfare is not
The
considered.
spiritual.
Yeah. That you are actually spiritual body. That is not considered there. That and then this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita or spirituality is not given. So there is where the spiritualist will do welfare work. And a common man will simply do physical welfare, which is also important. Okay. It's not like it's not important, it's also important. More important than that is definitely spiritual welfare of the human society. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real causes of one's difficulty in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually in liberated state, liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. So even in this material world, a liberated person is liberated. He is not entangled. 5.26. Okay, you can take this verse. Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yeta chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmana. One who is free from anger and all material desires, who is self-realized, self-disciplined, constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in a very new feature. Okay, so they are free from anger, they are free from material desires. So they will definitely go to the Supreme, right? They will be liberated to the Supreme. There is no doubt in it. Of the saintly person who are constantly engaged in striving towards salvation, one who is in Krishna consciousness, the best of all. In Bhagavatam, it is said, just try to worship in devotion service the Vasudev. Vasudev is Krishna only. Every great sage are not, or even great sages are not able to control the forces of senses as effectively as those who engage in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep grown desire for fruitive activities. What does this mean is, we will take a story which happened 500 years ago. So here there was a person who was devotee of Krishna, but he had taken birth in a Muslim family. So the Muslim family, they kicked him out. They said, "You are chanting Hindu God, go away." So he was chanting Hare Krishna, and then he started living in a place which is in a village which is called in which is in Bangladesh today. Um, so in that village, in the outskirts of the village, he was staying, and he used to continuously chant Hare Krishna 24 hours a day, 192 rounds. His name was Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, he he gained a lot of respect from all people. Seeing that one zamindar, he became very envious. So he said, I know, this is just a show of spiritual ecstasy. But when they see material beauty, the person will fall. So then he arranged a prostitute to go to Haridas Thakur. So the prostitute went in the night, and Haridas Thakur was still chanting. And the prostitute said, "Oh, you are so beautiful person. We can be together." Haridas Thakur said, "Wait, I have to finish my rounds. I have to complete my rounds." And she just waited, and he chanted. One night, like this happened. Till morning, he was chanting. So she went back. Next night, also, she came. Again, Haridas Thakur said, "Wait, I have to complete my chanting." So she just waited. The whole night happened. Then, third night, she came. Third night, she um, she heard the holy name for 2 days. And the third day, she had a transformation of heart. And she said, "Actually, I'm a prostitute. I came here to disturb you." And then Haridas Thakur immediately understood. And she said, "I will surrender to you and become your devotee." So he told her to chant Hare Krishna in that same place, and he went away. And he also told her to shave her head. So the beautiful woman, she shaved her head, and she started chanting Hare Krishna there. And she became a great devotee. So in this world, attraction for opposite sex is the very highest pleasure, right? But one who is engaged in the transcendental bliss of the Lord, he can overcome it. This is what it means. Okay. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay. So in the
So do you
condition,
think this
so
is possible to achieve? Like for example,
yes, it is all
you gave
possible
the
to achieve.
example of the marketing, that even car ads. So we are so basically we are all surrounded now.
Yeah. I mean,
So
see,
by these,
yeah, I understand your question. See, at our level, at our level, we have to. We are not at this level, We are not in transcendental bliss by serving the Lord, right? Our level is we are just
yeah,
trying little by little how much we can do, right?
yes, yes,
even with that we will get a power to control ourselves. Okay, even with that, if we are sincere na, we will get
Yeah.
to control. Okay, it will be a test, but we will control ourselves. Getting?
Yes, yes, I get it.
So at Haridas Thakur level, he could purify the prostitute. We may not be able to do that, but we can run away from them, right?
Correct,
that
correct.
much that much conviction we may have. Getting? For
Yes,
Haridas
yes.
Thakur, he is so advanced that he doesn't have to run away. His enemy will only get transformed. Okay.
True, true. Yes, I get
Yeah.
it.
So at our level also, the chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra give us the power to overcome these lower tendencies. It is not that it only works for sadhus. No, it works for even neophytes also, new people. Okay. So don't be worried so much. This process is very powerful.
Yes, yes.
Hmm? What is highest to be achieved, it is there. But even at low level, one will start experiencing happiness. One will start experiencing control over the senses. Now I will give you another example. Now it is lunchtime, right? You will eat food.
Yes.
Okay. Now the you will eat like little by little, right?
Hmm.
One
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So the very first piece that you will eat, it will give you some satisfaction or not? It will
Yes,
give
yes,
some
it will.
satisfaction, right? And after eating the whole meal, you will have complete satisfaction. Yes.
Correct. Correct.
But it is never like this, that to get satisfaction you have to complete the meal. No, right? Even eating the first bite of it will give you satisfaction. You are understanding the difference?
But
in
that
some
won't.
in some processes one has to complete the process to get the final goal. But in
Yeah,
case
that
of,
won't accomplish the goal, right?
see, the goal is partly also accomplished, right? That's what I'm trying
True,
to
but
explain.
then again, we would still be hungry, right? I mean, we
That
have
is
to.
fine, but it will still satisfy us, na? Hunger is there, I understand, hunger is there. But not eating anything and eating little, there is a difference between the two, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
So this is what bhakti gives. See, in some processes, na, they have to complete everything to get the final goal, like in Gyan Yoga and all that. Okay, but in Bhakti Yoga, it is not like that. The very first thing that you do also will get you some part of the goal. Just like there are exams. If you clear all the exams, then only you get the certificate. Okay, but then there are some
Correct,
exams
correct.
where they will tell you clear, and whichever you don't clear, you clear in the next time, right?
Yes, yes.
Like there is
I
12th
get it.
standard
Yeah.
exam, you have to clear everything. But let's say BCom, MCom, engineering, if you fail in one subject, you clear it the next exam. So which is
Correct.
beneficial, which is better?
The second one.
Definitely graduation was much better, right?
Yeah.
And the school days were like very tight, very very much
Correct, correct.
what to say, fixed.
Yes,
Getting?
yes.
So bhakti is like this, that at the start also it will give you the ultimate pleasure, and therefore we'll get the power to overcome lower tendencies. But in other
I get
processes
it.
it is not like that. Until they see the super soul now within the heart, there'll be always a chance to fall down. That is in the Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga
I,
process. Okay, they'll be great sadhus, but
yes.
little bit of disturbance they may get distracted. But a devotee, because he's already tasting some pleasure, he'll be able to control himself. Getting?
Yes, I get it now.
Yeah. So this is the power of bhakti, that what is to be achieved highest is also given to the neophyte person. Okay.
Yes.
But other yoga systems, it is not like that. They have to complete. If they are incomplete, then everything is gone. We have the famous example of Vishwamitra story. He was doing so much of tapasya. Then Menaka came, and just by hearing her ankle bells, he got attracted to her, and he left everything, right? And we have story of Haridas Thakur. Very similar story, but Haridas Thakur didn't leave. The other person only get transformed. So that is the power of bhakti. In the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy fruitive results
I
of
get it.
work. Any question?
No, no, no.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of noise. You can just keep yourself mute and speak when required. We will finish this verse and stop. In the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy the fruitive results of work is so deeply rooted that it is very difficult, even for the great sages, to control the senses despite great endeavors. So, example of Vishwamitra is there. Okay, a devotee of the Lord constantly engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, perfect in self-realization, very quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. Owing to his complete knowledge in self-realization, he always remains in trance. To cite an analogous of this, some example is given by vision, by meditation, and by touch. Only do the fish, tortoise, and birds maintain their offerings. Similarly, do I also, O Padmaja. The fish brings up its offering simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offering simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on the land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee of the Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to the abode simply by thinking of him constantly. By engagement in Krishna consciousness, he does not feel the pangs of the material miseries. This life is called Brahma Nirvana, or absence of material miseries, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. So this is actually was displayed by Prahlad Maharaj. He was being killed, being tried to be killed, poisoned, but he didn't experience the pangs of material miseries. Why? Because he was constantly thinking of the Lord. Okay,
Yes.
so we'll stop here. Any questions or comments?
No, no.
Okay, okay. There are no questions, comments. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.